What's up guys, Wolf here. Welcome to another first Descendant video. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how you're going to increase your damage. Are you being effective with your DPS? When you fight the bosses in this game, it's going to be quite tricky. Playing solo or in a group, you're going to have your DPS high because there's time limits to killing the bosses, so you want to make sure you're beaming them out quickly. Also, just in the open world, like playing missions, for example, you need to try and beam the enemies out before they can do a lot of damage back to you. So having high damage is important, and there are many things you may miss in this game. So I wanted to give you my tips and tricks so far from my experience in my playthrough of this game. So hopefully you do enjoy the video. If you do, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. The first thing I want to talk about is specifically leveling. So when you're going through the main story, if you go and you farm a mission for a long time, you could become level 40 really quickly. But then if you're only in the beginning of the story, you're going to be getting level 10, level 20 weapons. That's not really ideal. So you don't want to stick to having low weapons. So play the main story, and then that will allow you to increase the level of your weapons as far as I can see. So like right now, I'm level 40, that's the cap. I'm getting level 66 weapons. So you want to keep matching the weapon to your current level. So when you pick up weapons, just make note. If you are holding a level 50 weapon and you start seeing yourself picking up level 60 weapons, put on the level 60 weapon. It makes a big difference. There's a huge amount of damage increase in those weapons, and you could find some really special weapons as well. So make sure you're always checking and swapping out your weapons depending on your level and your progression through the story. Next up, I want to talk about making use of a ultimate weapon and making sure that's also on par with your current level. So when you are picking weapons up, just have a look. As you can see, I'm starting to pick up 66 weapons. This Thunder Cage was only level 40. So what you want to do is you go to this part of the map in Albion. You guys should know where your repair station or your workbench. And you want to go over here. And what you want to do is do a weapon level transmission. So you would select your Thunder Cage or your ultimate weapon, whatever weapon it may be. This weapon is a level 52. Then you would select one with I don't know, sometimes it depends on the actual rounds it uses, what type of weapon it is. But if you select this weapon right here, which is 63, it will cost you phase exchanges, which you can go and craft. Now, they're quite cheap to make. If you do the ultimate weapons, it's going to be a bit more of a fancier phase exchanger. I'll show you right now. Just make sure that whatever levels of weapons you're picking up, make sure your ultimate weapons and all your weapons in general match that current level. If you don't, for example, if you don't want to lose the Thunder Cage because of its great overcharged talent, you don't want to use any other guns, just make sure this one constantly matches your level. Do it, I would say, at least every 10 levels to make it worthwhile. So if we go over here, we research request, and this is going to be a precision phase exchanger, which is going to cost liquid metal. This is from deconstructing standard and rare weapons. 50k gold as well. So make sure you craft these. You can craft more if you want. There's some like ×4, things like ×20. Just double check how much it costs because it does take a lot of time. This is going to take me hours to actually do this for fine tuning. That's for changing the attributes, which we're going to get to shortly. So make sure whatever progression you are in, whatever part of the story where you're getting levels of weapons, make sure your current weapons that you are using match that. If not, go over here and actually change them, use your materials and update them. So let's take a look at the gun in a bit more detail. So the DPS for this weapon is 39,000. This is a submachine gun. When you're playing, you kind of want to have different types of rounds. This is general rounds. You can put special rounds, and then for these ones here, impact rounds. I've just got 2 here because I was fighting a boss and I used the 2 here. DPS is quite important, so try and put the ones that are higher DPS. But in some situations, like for example, I picked up an assault rifle level 66 that had 42,000 DPS. It didn't feel as good because the accuracy wasn't very good, the reload speed was slow, and it wasn't very effective. So this gun just ended up being a lot better. That's not just due to the talent. I'm talking about other guns in general. Some weapons may actually do more damage when their DPS is lower. This depends on many different factors. I'm not going to get into that, but just test it for yourself. Test the weapons, the new ones you get, and you'll see maybe it suits you better, or you can hit your shots better with some of the weapons, even though the DPS is slightly less. But generally speaking, just try and use the higher DPS weapons. It's a calculation of all the different stats of the gun. Then as you guys can see, we've got the attributes. This one's got weapon change speed, bonus firearm ATK versus the Order of Truth, chill attack, and recoil. These are really bad that I've got right here. Terrible. As you can see, we can get some better ones. We can get firearm ATK, which is really good, crit damage. That's kind of what you want to go for. And once again, you want to try and change those. Now, I wouldn't really be doing it too early on in the game. So that's going to be weapon readjust. So we can select this, for example, this hand cannon. If you click there, that means it's going to lock this and it's going to change all the other three. So, for example, we wouldn't really want to lock this, would we? Rounds per magazine isn't great. Weak point damage is good. Firearm attack. This is probably better than chill attack because this is not a chill build. So I would probably just lock maybe the most important one, which is going to be firearm ATK. And then I would just re-roll it, and then it would change all of these ones to the possibilities here. So when we look at damage, it's kind of the same with mods, and I'm going to talk about that shortly, because modding the gun is very important as well. So firearm ATK, the baseline damage is good. Firearm critical hit rate, very good. Critical hit damage. Weak point damage. Any bonus firearm ATK damage to these types of enemies. It depends what enemies you're fighting though. Those are all going to be very powerful. I would actually try and stay away from the other ones. But it does also depend on you as a player. Now you can also enhance the unique abilities of weapons, but you need duplicates of these weapons. So I had 2 thunder cages. Can you see my overcharge there has got +1? So just below the recoil attribute. These other ones, cavalry, 0, and my other one, fanaticism, is 0. So if you get duplicates, go and do that. Enhance unique abilities because it increases those things, because the cage that we've got right here is unbelievably strong. It does AoE damage when you kill an enemy, so it's going to be a great unique ability to upgrade. Then let's take a look at modding. This is going to be very important. This goes across the board with all weapons. I would stay away from accuracy like this, Hawkeye, don't go for that. Any kind of situational damage, maximum rounds, reload timers, even though reload speed is a form of DPS, and that kind of depends on your situation. Like if you're fighting a boss, you want a weapon where you can hip fire and move side to side efficiently. You can get mods that increase the speed of moving side to side efficiently. There are many more mods I haven't even seen yet, so I will double check that. But just check your situation. Like for example, if you're fighting a boss, it might be more beneficial to go for weak point damage, because the bosses have got weak points, and that's just going to be better. And I'll actually show you guys a demonstration of that shortly. So the ones that I recommend going for are the blue ones at first, because it's cheaper to upgrade the blue ones early game, and it focuses on one of the attributes a bit better. There are some purples like action and reaction that are good. So like I mentioned earlier, we want crit damage. We want crit damage, and we want fire rate. We want crit rate. We want firearm ATK, and plus recoil. So that's bad, but it doesn't matter. Firearm ATK is the baseline weapon damage increase, and this is a percentage value. It's just very, very good. Critical hit damage is good. Fire rate is a very high form of damage in this game for my testing. So these are the ones you want to go for: crit and firearm damage. Now, it's important to take note that you can also level up your maximum capacity of these modules. So for example, if you go over here and you assign module socket type, you can reset your level, and you can actually tweak the symbolized socket slots here, but I wouldn't do that yet unless you're maybe in game. So we can increase the capacity, which would give me a lot more scope to give more damage, but I need to farm an energy activator, which is a nightmare. I don't even have one of the pieces yet. So that's going to be something I'm going to focus on. This is very important. One of the best ways that you can increase the damage of your character, because imagine how much more we get. This is going to increase it from 44 to 74. Monumental. So I am losing so much damage. So this is going to be a priority of mine, and I recommend you guys do it. I'm not entirely sure how to get these pieces. It will tell you how to do it in your journal. You can have a look at the info tab, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to level it up. It'll give you so much more damage, and because you're going to have so much more slots. Also, when you see these symbols, these sockets, now you can see it's like a semicircle C. So we need to find one that's got that right next to the number here. So if we see this one's got chill enhancement, this has got one of those semicircles in it. So that will actually go down. We put it there. If you put it there, it'll give 6, or if you put the wrong type in here, it'll increase the slot take from that number. So this rifling reinforcement, if I remove that, this is going to be 10. This takes up 10 slots, but because the symbol matches there, and that symbol refers to the module socket type, this is malachite. So just have a look, like for example, this is Xantic. So malachite, because it's 10 and I put it in the correct slot, that takes it down to 5. So that's going to benefit you massively. And then make sure you go and you level these up where I am right now. Level up these mods and you will get a significant amount, but remember, it increases the capacity. So that's what I can recommend. Same for things like this. Now you can equip recommended modules in the beginning if you're not sure, but just make sure that you actually try and test it and put the right ones on. So if we go into the settings, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but it says 39,000 DPS, and we go here. Can you see the DPS has gone up? That's because of the modification. So the true value of the DPS, I haven't really had time to test that if it actually is accurate, but it is going on along those lines. And you can see my critical hit rate is still quite low. I want to make sure that my crit hit rate is up, because the higher that is, the more chance of me critting works. It gives me more chance to crit. And when you increase your baseline weapon damage, like firearm 80k, with some other multiplicative elements that I'm still testing, to be honest, this is going to multiply off of, or it's going to scale with your crit as well. So it's very important to have your crit hit rate up. So that's why Better Insight is a great one for you to actually level up. So if we take a look at this gun right here, now this isn't one of the best LMGs. It's not the best, I'm going to be honest, but it's very nice. Any kind of LMG, when we have a look here, I tested this with this mod right here, Better Concentration, which is a bit of situational damage, critical hit damage. This is a level 3. This one's also a level 3. So in the first bit of gameplay you're seeing against the boss, I got like 1,000 damage less using the crit hit damage overall. It's a lot less DPS because weak point damage is very good against bosses, but this is also dependent on the bosses you're fighting if you're in a team. So you're going to have to test for yourself, but weak point damage can be very, very powerful because that is baseline damage and not situational crit damage. So this could be very beneficial for your setup. So just take a look at that. There are many instances where, like for example, if you use a very slow reloading weapon, that having reload speed could give you more damage than some crit mods, but in general it's not really the most effective, and it's going to be, you're going to make your build, I would say, a little bit weaker in my opinion, but it is situational and it does depend on you as a player. So just always have a think about that. So I think from now that those are probably the best bits of advice I can give you guys if you want to try and do more damage. And just to keep an eye on your build, make sure that it's up to par, and you're going to have to keep checking it as you go. It's also something to mention as well that your mastery rank is a good thing, because you get a lot of detail from, not specifically damage, but then again we get weapon module capacities and things like that. So all of this goes towards that. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you very soon in the next one. Peace out.